I think, yep, we're good to go. So,
I can see it up there live on Facebook.
there we are. So yeah, first off, I just want to say hello and thank you guys for tuning in. I am here today with our creative conversation series with Justin Border. He's an artist and he also is the graphic designer at the Arts and Heritage Center, the Johnson County Arts and Heritage Center. And we're going to be talking about an initiative and project that he started. And this is actually the second round of that project. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So first of all, thank you, Justin, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And do you want to give us a little bit of background about you and kind of your journey?
Yeah, so I'll just start at college.
Okay.
That's easier than going all the way.
That works. Tell me about the day you were born.
I was born in Overland Park. No. Yeah, so I went to college in 1998, starting off at McPherson College. And then originally my plan was to study journalism while I was there. So I started off in journalism, but they didn't really have a journalism program, which I didn't really research anything about college that well. I was just kind of like, cool, they gave me a scholarship. I'll go there. That's easy. But then with that too, I started taking different like elementary design, like intro level classes, and was really getting into art. And then switched to that. I think it was the end of my sophomore year. And then just decided I just kept going with art and studying studio art. So we got to do kind of the full range of everything. So painting, drawing, ceramics, graphic design, installation, video production. So it was a really cool intro to all these different things. And I could kind of figure out what I like the most. Oh yeah, and this is Bendy too. She won't leave my lap. So she might pop up every once in a while.
Okay.
So yeah, then I went through that, graduated in 2002. In the meantime, before that, I did go to Chicago for a little bit and had a few internships, and then bounced around a bunch. Oh, here she goes. Bounced around a bunch, like moving. I counted, I believe it was 13 times that I moved in 10 years. So kind of a period of 2001 to 2011 or 12, I moved a ton. So
Wow.
living in Chicago and then upstate New York, moved to Japan for a little bit to teach English. Worked at the Salina Arts Center in Salina, Kansas for about 3 years. And then when I left that position is when I moved back to the Kansas City area with the idea of going back to school for specifically graphic design at the Kansas City Art Institute. So I did that and then wrapped that up in 2014. And then in the meantime, I was kind of working multiple jobs. I was working at Costco when I moved here for about 9 months, I think. And then within the same day, I received the job with the Johnson County Museum as an ed assistant. So part-time there. And then also part-time at NARA, I always forget what the acronym is, the National Archive Record Association, but basically just worked in caves for a couple days a week.
Cool.
And then slowly kind of moved up the ranks at the Johnson County Museum. So I've worked with the Johnson County Museum and now JCPRD for a little over 8 years. And then now in 2019, I received this new post of graphic designer for JCPRD and specifically for the Arts and Heritage Building, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And now I'm here.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys visit the Johnson County Arts and Heritage Center in Overland Park and you walk in, like the first thing you see if you're looking kind of like straight ahead is Justin's giant wall of designs.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
he designs for Theater in the Park and he makes all of their program covers and their what are they called? Like the each each thing.
Oh, each production artwork.
Yes.
Yep.
Production. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're super cool. And yeah, you do all
Yep.
the work for that.
Yeah, and then graphics with the Johnson County Museum, different
Mhm.
things. So um, helping out with designing for exhibitions here and there. So it's really fun to kind of bounce around between really different things. So I mean, I could be designing the artwork for, say, Mamma Mia,
Mm.
and then the next day I could be working on a panel that's going into the museum main exhibition. So it's really bouncing from different ideas, different workflow, different end product and where it lives, which is cool.
Cool. Yeah, it keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so do you let's talk about you as an artist.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So when did you start doing any other art besides graphic design when you were kind of going through school and stuff like that? Or was it like just graphic design?
No, I've really bounced around a bunch. So I was really into, and I think that comes from a studio art background too, that I was really into painting and drawing and graphic design and installation and um, fibers, ceramics, and like
Yeah.
wasn't my thing. I wasn't very into ceramics, so I still like to glaze ceramics, but building and all that, I'm not very into it. But yeah, so starting off, I've always kind of repurposed different materials, so which it really comes in handy, I think, as you're starting off as an artist, because art supplies can be really expensive, and a lot of people think, oh, I can't do anything because I don't have this perfect size canvas or this specific paintbrush or this type of paint. And really, I would just kind of use anything that I have. I still have some tubes of paint that I bought while I was in college. So they're, what, 15 years old or something.
Mhm.
So if I want that color and I've got it, then it's still there. But I spent lot of time working, starting off with kind of building my own canvases out of cigarette boxes. So smoking a lot.
Not
And then
anymore.
I was just like, oh, I've got all these boxes around. I can just. So first I started kind of wrapping those just individual boxes in newspaper. And I thought, oh, well, cool. I could just draw on these, paint on them if I want. If it's messed up, I could just recycle it. I mean, it's not a
Mhm.
um, big investment that way. And then I started experimenting, like gluing all of those different cigarette boxes to build larger and larger canvases. And then wrapping those two in newspaper and then making them more secure and then painting on it. So I just kind of kept expanding, and then it's like, oh well, I don't have to use cigarette boxes. What about like shipping boxes? And then experimenting with that and paper mache and covering um, those boxes too with like plastic shopping bags, and then covering it with newspaper too, so I could get kind of funny, organic, kind of like mountainous kind of shapes, and then
Yeah.
also too painting those. And then at the same time too, I like to collage a lot.
Mhm.
So, and then I'll use a collage as just like the basic collage. Like I really like it that way too. But then sometimes I'll use it as a study for painting on those objects too that I was building.
Oh, cool.
So I would just kind of pick and choose different elements from the collage, and then that was like kind of like what became the painting at the end.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place. Like right now, I'm really into gouache painting on like black mixed media paper. Been dabbling with watercolor with Marcy as the
Mhm.
teacher extraordinaire, and that's really fun. I like doing that. I've never really got into oil painting just because of cleanup and prep, and I'm always nervous that, I mean, it's so easy to get rid of mistakes with oil paint because it stays wet for so long.
Mhm.
But for me, I'm pretty clumsy or I work too fast, and I'm afraid I'll just like smear an element off that I really enjoyed, and then
Yeah.
bum myself out.
I know. I
'Cause like,
know.
oh
Oil,
shoot, it was amazing, but now it looks terrible.
right. Ugh. Oil is something else.
Yep.
No, I always feel like I follow a lot of artists who do like legitimate oil painting. I don't call, I mean, I paint with oil, but I don't know like all the techniques and stuff. And I see all these other people who are like naming the color palettes and like there's these like fancy names for techniques. And I'm like, I
Oh
just,
wow.
you
Yeah,
know,
really?
have a brush and the paint, and, you know,
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, I
I
didn't
don't,
know. I don't know any of that because I usually will do acrylic, wash, watercolor. Um, and with watercolor too, I'm not very patient, so I really love with acrylic and gouache, especially because it dries so fast
mm-hmm.
that I can paint over like this part of the canvas and then like quickly jump down here, paint it, and then by the time I'm done here, this is dry, so I can just kind of
Yeah.
bounce all over the place.
Instead of
When
waiting a week for one thing to dry.
yeah, and with watercolor, I have to practice being patient and like really planning things out and like, cool, this will be the background, leave it alone, let it fully dry,
Yeah.
come in, build stuff up. So it's kind
Yeah.
of fun. I like that it's making my brain kind of think a little bit differently.
So, what's the difference between gouache and acrylic?
So with gouache, it's cool because it's more opaque like acrylic, but you use it like watercolor. So you thin it out with water and you can get different, I mean, you can get a little translucency with gouache because certain paints, especially yellow, I feel like is the most kind of crazy with gouache, but it just has bigger, almost like bigger chunks of pigment compared to watercolor.
Cool. Yeah. So you make your own canvases and you like to recycle stuff.
Mhm.
Um, do you show these pieces in like galleries and exhibitions and that kind of thing?
Yep, I have. It's so lately it's weird. I haven't really since the pandemic, really, I haven't been building, it doesn't make any sense, but I haven't really been building any of like the big canvases. I kind of I did a show, shoot, when was it? Summer of 2018 at the Kansas City Artists Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
Still when they were at their old location in River Market,
Yeah.
in the Snap space. And then there I had an exhibition of the biggest kind of built canvases I did. They're almost my height, so like 5'6" or 5'7"
Wow.
tall, and pretty big. So I had 3 of those, and then some smaller ones. So, and a wall of collages that I did,
Nice.
and it was cool. And I tend to not work big just because of um, limited space, or like those 2, they were pretty limited. I couldn't go that much higher because I was building them in my basement.
Yeah.
So kind of like the ceiling dictated how tall I could really go. Laying them down, I tried that, and they just kept falling apart. But then too, when works are really big, then you have to hire a truck and
Mm-hmm.
move things that way. So just to kind
Yeah.
of eliminate that, I'm just like, oh no, I'll just stuff that I could stuff in my car, and then that's perfect.
Yeah. I was gonna
Oh,
ask if you could put them in your car.
yeah, well, the funny thing, I could fit. So with those, when I did the show, I did end up having to rent a U-Haul truck just because there were 3, and I kept trying to like wedge them into my car, but I could only get 2 at a time. So then I just bit the bullet and was like,
Yeah.
I'll just rent the truck. But
Yeah.
others I can usually like um, put them in the front seat or like in the back seat or flop down the little back seat thing.
Yeah.
And one benefit though is they're super light.
Okay.
So they're really easy to carry. Like anyone can just like pick them up. Boom.
Yeah. Because I mean, they're basically just like paper mache kind of.
Yep. Yeah, and
Yeah.
just cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
But then you do have to be careful because you could easily damage them. So say I'm moving them in and I hit the wall, it could just dent in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of smushed.
Uh,
So it's a
yeah.
little funny.
Yeah. It probably was good that you rented the U-Haul because safety of the pieces
Oh,
and
yep,
everything.
definitely. I could just see them like wedged, and then I shut my trunk, and
Yeah,
whoops,
just boop.
and then that's it.
Ah, yikes. So the gouache pieces that you're doing on black paper, can we see those anywhere right now?
Well, I've applied. Well, actually, there are two on exhibit at Esperance, which is
Okay, yeah.
curated by Devin Graham and Creative Research,
Mhm.
and that's at Epstein Gallery
Yeah.
in Overland Park. So there were two there. There were three on view at the Kansas City Flat Files,
Mhm.
but that just closed. And then I've applied for two more exhibitions, so fingers crossed. Maybe they'll accept them, and then they'll be on display there too.
Awesome.
So,
Go ahead.
oh, and I was going to say, it's funny with thinking back now, because another thing I used to not do is I didn't like to work on anything that needed to be in frames,
Mm,
just because frames were expensive, and if it's an odd shape, then you have to have a custom frame, which is crazy expensive.
yeah.
Um, but now I love with IKEA, frames are so cheap and they look good. And so now I'm not so afraid of submitting work that needs to be framed to go into a show. Because before I didn't worry about it. I was like, nah, I'm just gonna build these canvases. They're cool, they're standalone. They don't need a frame.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the nice thing about canvases is they don't necessarily have to be framed.
Yeah, yep.
And I mean, there's ways to hang like paper, but
Oh, yep.
you know,
Yeah,
I don't.
little like magnets, or you could have the like
Yeah.
clips, or yep.
Yeah. So when you're applying for shows, do you ever get discouraged? Like if you get rejected or, like what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, when I was younger, it was especially first starting off. I was very gung ho and like, cool, I'm out of art school. I need to just show everybody what I can do.
Mhm.
And the best thing is, I wanted to get things on my resume and then get the work out there. But then after the first couple of rejections, you just kind of like, because you spend so much time not only doing the work, but also like researching the opportunities and then getting your application ready by the deadline, which I'm not usually good at. And keeping all the stuff in the background kind of good, like always updating your resume. And if you have a website, trying to update that. Social media presence, that didn't exist when I was first starting. So that was one thing that was kind of off. So it's a lot to put into it. And especially if I tend to work toward an exhibition. So I'll have specific ideas and think, oh, cool. Well, yeah, this sparked an idea. So I'm going to propose this idea to them. But if you get a no, then sometimes just kind of like, well, and then it never happens. Like
Yeah.
the work never exists. But I do have kind of a philosophy for myself that if I get 20% of what I've applied for in any year, I consider that to be like the most amazing thing, like super good. So
Yeah.
say I apply for three things and then I get one, that'd be 33%, 34%. We'll go with higher.
Yeah.
So that would be super good. Um, and now it doesn't hurt as much to get people, because I hear no all the time. So
Mhm.
then just kind of like, oh, cool. Like I have recycled different ideas, and like then they change because of like, oh yeah, I remember like 4 years ago I applied for this like magazine cover thing or something. We'll
Mhm.
say I didn't actually, but I'll just use that as an example of and then but maybe it was like, oh yeah, I thought about putting this element into it, and that could become something totally different, but it started from 4 years back.
Yeah.
So can definitely be a hustle, I would say,
Yeah.
of seeking things out, putting it out there, see what comes back to you. And then that's the really fun part too, because then say it's some big elaborate thing or idea or like pie in the sky kind of dream. and then you're like, oh shoot, now I have to actually do this,
That's
which can be
where
a
I get
little,
myself.
yeah,
I'm like,
yep,
yeah, there's this great idea and I'm going to spend like all this money and it's going to be great. And then I'm like, okay, now
yep,
I need to make it happen.
yep,
Where's
and
this
then
money
getting all
coming
the like
from?
everything lined up where you're like, oh cool,
Yeah.
okay, so then arranging in your brain of like, cool, well I need to buy these supplies and
Mhm.
arrange if I need a truck
Yeah.
and all this extra stuff that goes along with not just creating the work.
Yeah. The behind the scenes stuff too, marketing
Yeah,
and
yep,
all that stuff. Yeah. So it's a real business.
yep, I know.
So you mentioned installation earlier. What kind of installation projects have you done before?
So it's
Besides the Snap Space one, I guess that's technically installation.
oh yeah, I guess that kind of was too. But
Kind of.
yeah, no, it is too, because it was with those, they're almost kind of like sculptural canvases. I
Mhm.
still haven't really figured out how to completely explain them,
Yeah.
but they're kind of like 3D and painting and I don't know. Um, but yeah, in the past I've done like murals on the wall, but then have other maybe other pieces that maybe are just like propped up against the wall, or shelves that are built in with like maybe mini objects kind of displayed there too. So a lot of just kind of like playing with the actual space, and then which I always think is fun. And then I remember for my student show way back in college, I had set that up kind of as an installation too. So we all had, there were 6 of us, I think, 5 or 6 artists that were all like our senior exhibition thing.
Mhm.
So we all got a certain section of the gallery. But then at that time, I was really into working with a lot of natural materials too. So I was kind of early on building up my own kind of structured canvases. So I had stretched like some extra canvas that I had, but it wasn't a full piece. So then it just stretched, but there was kind of a giant like slash down it, and then building up different pieces of like corrugated cardboard and painting, and then nailing into like boards. So it was kind of a 3D effect, but all within the frame.
Cool.
But then also I was really into building my own what are they called? Like a plinth or like a
Oh, pedestal?
pedestal. Yep, I
Yeah.
couldn't think. Yeah. So for some reason I was like, oh cool, I'm gonna build all my own pedestals and
Oh,
everything for
wow.
the exhibition too, which was it. At the end it turned out really cool, but it was super stressful to
Yeah.
do that on top of doing all the work.
Wow.
But I was taking like tree limbs and I wrapped some with twine, and then they became like their own kind of assemblage, like sculpture on this like platform on the ground. I had this giant rock that I found, and I had been saving my hair. Like anytime I cut my hair, I just kept saving it for some reason.
That's awesome.
So I decided to just cover that entire rock with hair. And then from the ceiling, I had taken like kind of hint rope and the little like twirly bird things from the trees.
Mhm.
And I like covered those and like painted them, and they were hanging from the ceiling.
Wow.
So it was really cool.
Wow. That's awesome. Um, can you still hear me? You froze on the screen. You still there? Justin.
You're
Hey.
back. It froze up. Did it
Sorry.
freeze on your end too?
Okay.
Did it freeze
Technical.
on your end too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
I was like, wait, it's okay. No worries. Um, so
I know
yeah,
all of a sudden I was talking and I looked at it, I was like, oh wait, you froze.
yeah. You weren't still talking, and then I couldn't hear you, and I was like, "Ooh, are you still there?" Um. Anyway, the twirly.
Oh yeah, so
Rope.
I don't know what they're actually called. I always call them twirly birds,
Yeah,
but
I've always called them helicopters.
yeah, helicopters. Yep. So I just taken those and I was experimenting with them, painting on them too, but then I hooked them onto fish hooks. So I don't know, I was just really experimenting with the actual materials, but
Yeah.
and then that space, just kind of a blank space. I just went all out. I remember there was one too, or under the rock with hair, and then the day of like install, it just didn't look right. So I just ran outside really fast and like tore up a bunch of like grass and stuff from the yard and just put it on the top of the pedestal and then plop. And then it was perfect. It was like, oh, this is what it needed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Did you glue the hair to the rock or?
Yep, I did. So I just glued it all over.
That's
so
amazing.
and it was pretty big. It was like I know it was. I remember it being really heavy.
Yeah.
But and it looked
Wow.
cool, kind of like a triple. Is that what they were? Like the little fuzzy furry thing from Star Wars or Star Trek,
Oh,
I think.
yeah. I don't know.
Looked like a weird little fuzzy critter, but it was just a rock.
I love it. Oh, amazing. Um, have you ever taught art before?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I completely forgot about all that. So yeah, many different times. So like teaching at Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCA. I taught with Nelson Atkins for a little over a year, doing a lot of like outreach, going to different schools and community centers all throughout Kansas City and KCK. And that was really fun. And I did teach art classes too with the Johnson County Museum when I was ed assistant. So we really kind of punched up doing art classes that were specific to current temporary exhibitions that were going on with the Johnson County Museum. And we did a really fun whole series of just kind of modern artists to go along with. There was a temporary exhibition about modern architecture in Johnson County.
Nice. Cool. Did you were was it just did you teach at the Kimber too, or did I make that up?
Oh no, I only taught at the Nelson.
Just the Nelson. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Nope, I didn't. I didn't think back too. I was like, wait, did I?
Awesome.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, because I could imagine you telling your students like to experiment with stuff and really like open your mind and yeah.
Oh yeah, and use new materials as something else or reconfigure things. That's always the most fun, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of that, recycling materials and repurposing, let's talk about stash.
Yeah, definitely, because that's like the big
Yeah.
part about it too.
Yeah. Do you want to start at the beginning of the first round of stash and tell us how you thought of it, what you did, that kind of thing, what it was?
Oh, sure, definitely. So I first thought of it when in 2020 when I was furloughed. So I was furloughed from work for 2 months, like April through June. And then at first I instantly thought like, oh, cool. Well, now I have all this free time. I can kind of that stuff I was always telling myself like, oh, well, if I had more time, I totally would do this. And I've always kind of collected random materials, or I'll buy things at thrift stores that I see that just look kind of funny, like a bag full of wine corks or something, or an old film reel, like film canister. It's like, oh, well, this is only 50 cents. I should totally get it.
Right.
And then later on, maybe I'll make something out of it. So, but then all of a sudden it was weird. Like I just had way too many ideas at first, like looking at stuff, and I couldn't focus on any like an actual work for all these things. I would just get little bits and pieces of ideas. So then I just thought, oh, well, what if I offered this up to other people and maybe this random assortment that I could send out to people would spark an idea with them, and they could combine it with anything they have at their own house, especially since we're all kind of stuck like at our house anyway. So I thought it was kind of a cool idea to like connect people still, even though we weren't seeing each other and we couldn't go to like an art class or critique session or something. And two, I really like the idea that, because I would send everything out through the mail, which, and to kind of like support the mail system and like keep that, like put money into it or something. And it turned out really cool. Like a lot of the work that came back, and it was cool also to hear people's connections to like, oh yeah, well, this picture that I received reminded me of this, and then it kind of like spurred on the whole idea. And then a lot of people spoke about their connection to the work at that time that we were in, and actually one of my former middle school teachers had signed up too. And at first she was so funny because she was like, "Oh, I'm just if you have space for an 80-year-old retired artist or something, then I'm in." And of course I was like, "Yeah, totally." But it was really nice that at the end she was kind of like, "Oh, well, this got me back into wanting to do art again. Like this was a cool." She had taken some of her previous paint idea that she went into. So I really enjoyed that part of it, that kind of community building when we really couldn't be like a physical community.
Yeah.
So then it started. Then after that, I received an Arts KC inspiration grant. I think that's I always kind of mess up what they're called.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because so now we're into the second version of it. But with that grant money, then I could expand it to 50 artists. So the first one, I limited it to 25 because I was just paying for the shipping and everything out of pocket. But yeah, so now we're kind of in it. Materials have gone out to about 31 people. So there are still 19 spaces left. So people, if you're interested, you can totally sign up. You just email me at stash.project.exhibition@gmail. And then just send me your mailing address, and then I'll send you a little packet of materials, and then you can create anything you want. You can combine it. I've always had this idea. I think it would be so funny if I sent everything to somebody and they just set it all on fire and like take a photo of it or like video it being burned. I just think it would be so funny. Hilarious. So any idea is good with me. But the materials don't have to be shown. You could just pile it and like plop paint over the whole thing. Anything you want. So
whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really hard. I did the first one. Well, I'm doing the second one too. But it was really hard for me to think that way because I don't know. I kind of paint the same thing over and over and over, which gets a little bit boring, but like that's what I like to do. Yeah. So when I got the materials, which the first one, it was like film, a strip of film that you were talking about, some fabric, some images from a magazine, a cork, I think.
One of those wine corks.
Yeah, and just like stuff like that. And you have to use all the materials, including the envelope that it comes in.
Yep.
I
forgot to say that.
Yeah, so that's another extra thing is like you're literally using everything that you gave us. Yeah. And then you can add your own stuff. So when I first started working on it, I made this I was like, oh, I'm gonna make something floral because that's all I do. But so I did like a collage and then I hated it. So I cut it up. And then I made another collage and I hated that. So I cut it up. So like my final piece was like 4 collages that I cut up and restructured and finally was like, you know what? This is it. This is what it is.
Yeah. And it turned out so amazing too.
Thanks. Yeah.
And I like that it does kind of force, because I'm really into like process with work. So I really get into like collecting the materials and having them there and configuring things, reconfiguring things. And I like that this project, I feel like a lot of people, they come to it with that similar thing of like, oh shoot, what am I going to do with all this crap? Like, what is all this junk? Yeah. And then I think I like to, the more I think about it, then I feel like it's kind of not necessarily forces people to do it, but I feel like a lot of people, it happens that same idea way back that I had with the project and all these materials, like, oh shoot, I have all these like flashes of ideas.
Yeah. How do you bring them together?
Yep. and then it's fun. I like that there's that constriction. So
Mhm.
there's like that constriction of you have to use all these materials, but it's totally open-ended. So the end product can be anything you want it to be. And but then like kind of focusing on the process of it.
Right. Yeah. And there were, I mean, some people made like 3D structural, sculptural things, like
Oh, uh-huh.
that just blew my mind. Some of the stuff that people were actually like giving it back to you, the projects, sending them
Oh
to you
yeah,
and
yep.
stuff.
Yeah, I do. I have a couple of the pieces still that people gave to me after they finished it, which was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
Yeah, I was
have,
just amazed by all the different works too. I always love
mhm,
that because I mean, if you have taught art too, which I know that you totally have, but people out there listening too,
yeah.
if they've taught art, then that's always amazing to me to see that you say you're teaching. I'm teaching an acrylic painting class or something. So everyone kind of starts off kind of the same spot. So you get the frame, you have your brushes, you have your acrylic paints. And then the end product, every single person will be pretty much a completely different view or subject. And I really like that. So I think I enjoyed that about this project too. So everyone's kind of like starts off at the same spot of getting this little bag of junk
Yeah.
that
I
I
love
select
that.
and send you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff though. It's like stuff you'd never think about. I think like this one, then the second round has like game pieces in it, like
Oh
little
yeah.
like I don't remember what you said the game was, but
Yeah, it's from Ramen Cup.
yes, that's what it was.
And it's weird too. I just bought it at a flea market and there was just this bag full of these Ramen Cup things. And I bought it, I think, still when I lived in Salina. So I bought those probably in 2011 or
Nice.
something, but just had them like stashed in a box somewhere. It was like,
Stash.
oh, cool, this would be fun to send because it's completely just
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, and I mean you could have an idea for something and then someone could do something completely like not even what you would have thought of. And
Hmm.
I love that because I I have like, so that's like one end of the spectrum. And then I used to teach those like paint and sip classes.
Oh, uh-huh.
Like, you know, that's fine. If you like that thing, that's
Yeah,
great.
yep.
Um, but I hated it. It was awful. It was so rigid.
Yeah,
And it
yep.
was like everybody paint this same tree, and I kept trying to sneak in like, oh, you can put in a sun if you want, or you can put in my boss
Oh,
was always like, no, you have to stick to the artwork. And I was like, ah, this is awful.
yep.
So yeah, it's definitely that freedom of being able to kind of whatever comes to mind, you get to
Yep.
use the pieces. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I think it's fun.
Yeah. So you have 19 spots left. Do you have a
Mhm.
website? Like can people
Oh,
see previous
yeah.
projects?
So if you'd like to see last year's exhibition, it's on justinborder.com and it's like slash stash exhibition or something. But if you go there, then at the top of it, it has different little
Like
subheadings,
maybe,
I guess.
yeah.
But then the first stash exhibition is there. And then there's also the email address, if you'd like to join, is listed there too. And then you get all set up. But it's really cool to go through um, and look at the exhibition and then see the works combined with kind of what because I always ask each person when they sign up to kind of send like a written element back to if they want to of kind of what materials I sent, what they combined with it,
Mhm.
how they interacted with the materials, what they were thinking, what they were feeling, and it's pretty much anything they want to say too. But
Yeah.
so the stories that go along with it on a lot of the pieces I think are really cool. And
Yeah.
just to hear too, like you said, Allison, that you started with the first collage, but you didn't like it, so you cut it up, and then another collage, and then cut, and then cut, and then cut, and then to see to the finished product, it's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was hard, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then being able to read about other people's projects too is really fun. So
Yeah.
when is there a deadline that you need to have like pictures of projects back by?
Yeah, I asked each person to, it's kind of a funny deadline. Like I should just choose a date, but people sign up just kind of like sporadically through.
Hmm.
So I struggled with that at first because I didn't want to give a hard deadline to everyone, like the same deadline to everyone, because you receive it maybe 2 weeks after somebody else, and then
Yeah.
I don't want them to get stressed out. So I always just put in the info like 30 days from when you receive it. I'd like to receive back digital images, the write-up of it, and stuff like that, and then I'll curate it all together into the new exhibition.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
but I'm pretty lax with deadlines too. So just be like, don't worry, you can just send it to me.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that the second exhibition will be up by the end of the year.
Cool. Awesome. I am gonna go home and work on mine this
Oh
weekend.
yeah. Would it be wild if you were working on it right now too?
Right.
Like, look at this.
I should have brought it.
Oh no.
Show and tell. That would have been fun. So yeah, is there anything else that you want to kind of plug while you're here, or exhibitions that are coming up, or anything like that?
I tell everyone to come in and see the exhibition at our building.
Yeah.
So right now, the Johnson County Developmental Support Emerging Artists are displaying throughout the whole exhibition space in the Commons area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool, and stuff is selling super fast. So
Yeah.
if people would like to buy the work, it's cool. They have QR codes there that go straight to their website, like the store website. And they're always, not always, but their studio is on site. So during the day, during working hours, you can always go in and meet the artists.
Yeah, they're all hilarious.
And then also Art in the Loop closes this week. Tomorrow. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can go see your very own Allison Bowman. Her amazing work. Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited. Cool. Well, and Coalesces this weekend.
Yeah, and Coalesce. Yep, mm-hmm. That's on the
Kansas City Artist Coalition at City Market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will let you go because it's been a little while.
Thanks so much, Allison.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week for another creative conversation.
Yep. And people sign up if you want to.
Yes.
No pressure.
Okay. All right. We are ready to go. All right. Bye, Justin.
Bye, Allison.